Greetings and welcome to this edition of
Positronic Hypersonic.
I'm Barry P. Cook, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest episode of The Boys. It was called Beware the Jabberwock, My Son, which of course is a line from the Lewis Carroll nonsense poem Jabberwocky, which is contained in the novel Through the Looking Glass, aka Alice in Wonderland. Anyway, as the episode starts at a Vought Expo, Homelander and Sage talk backstage as Homelander has flashbacks to his childhood and the slaughter at the lab. Huey and his mom talk with Huey's now awake and seemingly perfectly healthy dad before having a side conversation between just the two of them about why his mom gave the V to the dad. Firecracker badmouths Starlight on TV, blaming her for the death of Stretchy Man, whose name is apparently Ezekiel, as Starlight surveils her graffiti-bombed headquarters. Butcher meets with John, and John urges him to go after Homelander with just him because his team is shit, he says. Frenchie pretends not to know where Colin is when asked. Butcher tells the team about the virus that was developed at God U during the events of Gen V Season 1, and that he wants to get some of it to test on the vice president and then figure out how to juice it up to take out Homelander. Butcher and Mother's Milk secure a presidential pardon for Stan Edgar to entice him to help them against Victoria, and when he balks because he practically raised Victoria, they reveal to him how she souped up her kid, and he agrees to help. Huey and his folks spend some time together and seem to make some amends. Edgar takes Starlight, Kamiko, Frenchie, Butcher, and Mother's Milk to what is supposed to be, I guess, his farm, where they find a lab that apparently Victoria was running to test the V virus on some animals. But Victoria suddenly shows up with some Secret Service officers and confronts Edgar and the team. Deep and A-Train announce a new black-centric entertainment wing of Vought, as well as a dynamic race-based advertising, which A-Train seems put off by. Homelander and Ryan meet with the Vought promoter about a teen show starring Ryan, but Ryan seems hesitant, so Homelander gets the promoter to give Ryan his wallet and the keys to his Jag to entice him to do it. Homelander then seems to have a true human moment with Ryan and tells him that he's not going to push him in any particular direction anymore, since he knows what it's like to have that done to you. Back at Edgar's farm, he and the team have an easy truce with Victoria as they try to find the person running the lab and instead find a dead assistant and some killer V-dosed chickens, which just go on the attack and, and which they have to kill in order not to be killed by them. It's very strange. Sage and Firecracker have a terse chat about how Sage set her up to get her ass kicked by Starlight back at the Seven Tower. Meanwhile, Starlight and Victoria have words ending in Starlight punching her in the face back at the farm, where Butcher comes across a dead rabbit from which some kind of creature bursts before Butcher crushes it with his foot. Back at the expo, A-Train tells Ashley she needs to get Sage off his back, or he'll somehow take her down with him if he gets caught for leaking the footage from a couple of weeks ago, which it would seem Sage thinks he was responsible for. Back at the hospital, Huey's father has apparently lost some of his memories and has also developed the ability to phase through things, and he accidentally kills a couple of people before deliberately killing a police officer by reaching in and ripping his heart out. Back at the expo, Kate and Sam from God U, from the show Gen V, introduce a new show or movie that they're apparently both in, playing wacky characters, while Homelander and Ryan talk about what Ryan might want to do with his life. And he tells Homelander that he'd like to actually help people. So Homelander gives him the opportunity to help the young lady that Adam, the hype man promoter guy, has been trying to get to go on a date with him in what would appear to be a sexually harassing manner, since he's kind of her boss, by making him get on his knees and apologize to her. But when Ryan isn't satisfied that he really means his apology, Homelander suggests that Ryan tell the woman to slap him, which she joyfully does multiple times while both Ryan and Homelander smile their asses off. When Starlight realizes that Frenchie is Catholic, they start having a conversation about God and the forgiveness of sins, and Frenchie laments the fact that some sins can't be forgiven, before some flying, rabid super sheep attack a nearby bull, tearing it to pieces, and then do the same to a Secret Service agent as everyone runs to a nearby barn before the sheep do the same to them. In the barn, they find Samir, the guy who was in charge of the lab, and he explains that they had been testing the virus on animals, starting with a hamster, but it escaped, and before they knew it, the virus had leaked into the groundwater and now is all gone, except for one dose. Everyone decides to use the one dose on a dead guy also in the barn so that the killer sheep will be attracted to him and they can all escape. Back at the hospital, Huey's dad is very angry with Daphne for having left them because his memory is stuck back at that point in time before he goes to kill her. Huey has to step in to stop him, and he tells his dad that his dad is his hero. And then his dad seems to remember who Huey is and comes back to himself, but doesn't realize what's happened, saying that he can't stop what's happening. He doesn't know what to do, at which point Huey tells him that he knows what to do. Back at the farm, everyone is forced to run from the killer sheep, but only for a short while because suddenly they all start to drop dead. Edgar gets sent back to jail because the deal for his pardon wasn't able to be completed since the virus was all gone, but Victoria explodes the head of the guy driving him back to prison and sets him free. It also seems that Samir got when only his leg is able to be found. Homelander gives a speech to the Seven, as well as Kate and Sam, telling them that they're going to need to do some crazy things in order to save the world for their kids, and that they will no longer be beloved celebrities when the time comes, but wrathful gods. He then gets them all to go off on the guy that Ashley has been involved with, after he had previously told her he didn't want to be involved with her anymore. As a scapegoat for the leak, Frenchie turns himself in to a New York City police station for multiple murders. Back in the hospital, Huey's dad allows Huey and his mother to inject him with drugs to euthanize him so that he won't be tortured by the situation he's now in while spending the rest of his life in jail. Before the episode ends, we see that Butcher has actually taken Samir prisoner and left his leg behind so he'd be presumed dead and could make more of the virus in secret. So I did like this episode. I've been saying for weeks, I don't care about the Huey and his mother plotline and the Huey and his father plotline. I don't care. Why are we seeing that? And ultimately, at this point, I think I'm at the same conclusion. I still don't know why they bothered to show us that other than, character development for Huey. And that's fine as long as that character development leads him to do something significant before the season ends, which may yet occur. But in this episode, we got to see, I guess, the culmination of that little story that I guess is going to serve as, a major point of character development for Huey. And that is that, he got his dad back briefly after losing him to a stroke out of the blue, only to find that what he became when injected with the V was something abhorrent because he had been brain dead and, not a healthy person, which is normally when someone gets V. And so it messed with his memories and made him forget who he was and forget his past. And it made it so he couldn't control the abilities, though I guess that happens to everybody at first. And he was just phasing through walls and phasing through people and accidentally killing them, except when he was on purpose killing them. And, Huey then had to make the decision to let his father go and to be the agent of his demise. So it was a story that took place over the course of several episodes, but the point of it was to put Huey through a tragic and difficult situation, which, kind of had echoes of like Pet Cemetery,
Sometimes that is better.
And, I think it was just a poignant moment for Huey, and hopefully that will pay dividends going forward, in which case I will have to revise my statements where I kept saying I don't care about this plot line. I really, really liked all the crazy souped up killer animals, the killer chickens and the killer sheep, and that whole thing was really just super cool to witness. It's just unbelievable. So I really liked that. I liked seeing Juan Carlo Esposito again. I thought that was cool. He's always good, and he's anything he's in is elevated by his presence. So I like that. I liked how they tied it into Gen V and that whole thing with the virus. And it'll be interesting to see where they go, because if I remember correctly, Victoria killed the guy who knew how to make the virus by popping his head, and he had told her he didn't, that he hadn't written down the information. So how Butcher thinks Samir is going to be able to make more virus, I don't know. I guess we'll have to see where that goes. I found the bits with Homelander in this episode to be interesting, where you kind of see him for the first time ever actually be kind of like human. I mean, we've known all along that he can get his feelings hurt and that he has emotions, so he's not a true sociopath, but like I don't think we've ever seen him really do a good thing for the right reasons. And I think in this episode we finally got to see the real person that's in there, buried way, way deep, but I think still in there, John, his original persona, when he says to Ryan, I've been sort of manipulating you and pushing you in a certain direction because that's what I wanted for you. But I've recently realized that that's, something that was done to me that I hate and that's been done to me all my life. And I don't want to do that to you anymore. So we're going to, work on making it possible for you to do whatever it is you want. And I think that was just a genuine human moment on behalf of Homelander. And I think it was great to see that. But then he turns around and sadistically gets his kid to, basically sadistically hurt that promoter hype man guy that was basically sexually harassing his underling. And it's like he's just going to turn him into another him. Even if that's not his utmost intention, it's just who he is and his twisted vision of the world is just going to cause him to mold the kid that way anyway, even without trying. So it's just so mind-blowing. But anyway, good episode. I'm looking forward to next week, of course, and I will be back to do a breakdown and review of that episode once it's released. I'm going to get out of here for now. Until I return, I wish you peace and long life, and beware killer sheep.